Hello, good afternoon to everyone who has joined us today. Thank you for your time. We're happy to share a very interesting and insightful conversation on India talent mobility uh, from ATMA. Just want to share what is ATMA and what we stand for. So, ATMA is what stands for Asia Talent Mobility Alliance. We are a not-for-profit organization, and our objective is to kind of enhance innovation and development of the talent mobility industry of Asia. We want to be that soul of the global mobility professionals in Asia. We can help them enhance their impact on the business, and that's one of our key objectives. We want to address all challenges for mobility professionals, specifically linked to Asia. If you want to look at our board members, we are spread across different countries in Asia. We have Singapore, China, US, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and India. The mix of people who are from the client service side, also from the corporate side, and we come together to address issues and provide information and handhold global mobility professionals in their journey. Our central pillars on which the core focus area. One is ESG and sustainability, advocacy, education and development, and events and networking. We have done a lot of work on ESG and sustainability, helping organizations integrate their mobility goals with the larger goals of the organization. We have been doing a lot of work on mentorship, and we continue to have webinars such as these and conferences. I will later on announce our first conference in Singapore later this year. So the agenda for today is about India, and India actually has a good mix of both inbound and outbound population. Given that India is a talent pool, we see a lot more outbound moves from India compared to the inbound moves. So we'll talk about both of them. The agenda today is to first talk about global mobility as a policy, where we are given the current situation around the world. Something on trends in terms of volumes of the typical kind of assignments in which way are we heading. Some insights on the India regulatory environment and compliances. And finally, talk about how is our adoption of the information technology in our roles and responsibilities, given that there's so much of exuberance around AI and other tools. So to discuss with me today, I have two very senior global mobility professionals. We have Saju George, who's the global mobility head at Genpact, and we have Chiranjeev Populov, who's the head of global mobility at State Street. Something very unique about both of them that they are global heads of mobility functions. So they run the global mobility roles from India. Both are incidentally based out of Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, continue to see a lot of traction around setting up of new GCCs in India along with Pune. So it will be a very interesting conversation with both of them, giving their insights into what is their current experiences. Among the three of us, totally, we have more than 70 years of experience in global mobility. So I'm sure we have gone through a lot, and will be able to share what's happening right now in the world as well. So coming to the first point on the global mobility policy, we all have been seeing what's happening in the geopolitical space. I think things are changing much faster than they used to be before. We see a lot more announcements from government and on the immigration regulations or some executive orders. We see changing face of the business environment also very quickly, given what's happening on the geopolitical space. So maybe at this stage, I want to ask Chiranjeevi and Saju to kind of share in terms of what is the current experience, or what are the expectations from the business in the current environment, and how are they addressing it. Chiru, you want to go first?
All right. Thanks, Dharmesh. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I'm experiencing issues with the technology as always. And again, thanks, Dharmesh, and thanks to Atma. I'm happy to be back on this webinar. I know this is the second year in a row we are doing this, and a big welcome to all the participants, today who joined us. Right. I mean, if we just take a step back and look at it, I mean, there is a lot of uncertainty, not just in one corner of the world. I mean, normally we used to see, somewhere there is some uncertainty, some unrest is going on, but then this time it's a little different. I would say, there are so many places. If you look at North America, there is, because of the political situation, there is a lot of uncertainty is there in terms of policies, in terms of when you look at trade tariffs and everything, right? And then in Europe and then Middle East, we are seeing, and in Asia, we experienced something a couple of months back. So this is causing a lot of pressure on employees and also on the management itself. How to manage these situations and also how to manage these employees, right? Who are maybe immigrants or moving from one country to another country. And having said that, you would agree, right? It's also putting a lot of pressure on the global mobility teams as well. You may have seen it and you would agree with me, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we look at the silver lining, right, what is in it for us, I would say it always kind of gives us a great opportunity, right, to show the resiliency of the mobility teams, like what we have been doing all these years and for so many decades, right, and then partner with the business and also kind of look at the individual cases, not just from policy perspective. We need to look at these cases with empathy and then provide a support. So again, going back to your question, Dharmesh, I mean, what management is expecting or what employees are expecting us is to kind of, analyze the situation and also be proactive in terms of communication and also set the expectations and also, build the trust in the process. So I would
Sure.
say the communication is very important.
Sure.
And
Thanks,
Saju,
Saj. Yeah,
go
Saju.
ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chiru, and thank you, Dharmesh, for the opportunity for being today on the as one of the panelists. Good afternoon to everyone. I just want to add to what Chiru just mentioned. I think it is very critical as mobility professionals for us to track what is happening around the globe. There are so many, I think in the last 6 months, it has been a turmoil in terms of what we have been experiencing when it comes to political. It could be instability, it could be changing rules, it could be war which is going on. And I think what we also saw is India also had a phase where the government of India had a mock drill, and everybody is wondering what is happening, what is going to happen next. I think those are areas where I think it is important that not just mobility, but organization builds resilience. They have a guiding principle in terms of what to expect as an employee, what are the support mechanisms which are available, and how the company is bound to take care of the well-being and they are able to support. One of the things we have been doing is tracking everything, right? Means unless you track, you don't know what is happening, and then communicating is very critical. Identifying what is happening, how it impacts, what are the things that employees or say expats who are outside or in travel they are supposed to do, and create a framework in terms of what can go wrong, anticipate that, look at solutions, and broadly, not just the management. I think every employee who, for example, with the extreme vetting executive order, what was happening is there were a lot of news in the media about people being caught up at the port of arrival, they being put into secondary screening. There was CPB officials all across the US pulling out immigrants, and that not just impacted illegal immigrant, but it was also hurting the business immigration as such. And the management, senior, up to the level of board members, were wanting to know how is the company positioned to manage this, how are we able to tackle this, and how safe are our employees. One of the things, obviously, is to look at how it is impacting, have a broader communication plan, engage with partner firms if local support is required. And more importantly, I think being available for employees directly to reach out in case of they want to clarify a personal situation, they want to get some guidance. To the extent that we told our employees that if you are planning to travel internationally, please reach out to the global mobility team so that we can guide
Exactly.
you have a checklist of what you should be doing, what you should be carrying to make yourself at least risk free. Means you're not saying
Yeah.
that you are completely risk free,
Yeah.
but manage risk in a way that you are able to get out of it in case they get into a situation where the officials are very, very stringent. The other thing with the war, etc., what we are also doing is we are not looking at the cost aspect as such. Although policy hasn't changed, but we have closed travel through Middle East. Anybody who has to travel to the western part of the world, they will travel through regions which are more safer, even though which means it's more travel time or there is an incremental cost. So I think from a duty of care, every organization, I suppose, may be following a similar approach. But I think these are some of the very essential things that everybody must do is my thought process.
Yeah, I think some very
Exactly.
good points here. Yeah, very good points here. In terms of the fact that you did highlight the fact that this is the time to be very close to the business and to the employees, expect assignee population, trying to keep them kind of make them more confident about managing the current situations they are facing, because in some situations they are the one who are facing it on the front line. We are just trying to support them from behind.
Yeah.
But the point is that these times I think the fact that how close you are and how accessible you are to the assignment population and to the leadership is, I think, becomes more critical. And I think therefore a great opportunity for mobility teams to really show the value in terms of that you are there for them whenever required and whenever they feel that they're getting into some difficult circumstances.
Exactly.
Yeah. As a trend in terms of the fact that while there is a focus on trying to be more flexible in our policy approach towards the assignment population and all, how you feel as this kind of core flex or some flexibility in the policy kind of accepted largely at a business level, and try to we want to be as flexible for the assignment population, but at the same time there are cost pressures, there are business pressures as well. So how do you balance the two when it comes to providing your advice to the business and to the assignees?
So Dharmesh, I'll say it is situational, right? It is
Exactly.
dependent upon what kind of movement it is. When I say what kind of, it is driven by, say, is it a top talent? Is it a niche skill? Is it a leadership role? I think those are, uh, say, movements where the organization may be slightly more flexible when it comes to benefits. But otherwise, it's a very standard level of benefits that we give when an expat is moving. That's one scenario. I'll say another scenario is that we are also looking at an increase in pattern, a shift in pattern of our growth in the regions.
Yeah.
And when I say growth in the regions, is we are seeing India is not really a talent base as
Yeah.
such. It is still largest that way, but we're seeing a shift in terms of where the talent is growing.
Yeah.
And based on the nature of roles, the nature of projects, there is more expat hiring in those regions. So when you're hiring from global markets
Yeah.
and bringing in people from overseas, I think the challenge there is how soon can they settle so that they can focus on the project
Yeah.
and the billing can start. So there we are also seeing flexibility in terms of supporting them with either housing or school search so that it's easier for the business. They can start billing even though there may be a small incremental cost in
Yeah.
giving those additional benefits. So that are, I'll say, two broader outlook that we are seeing how the core flex is working out.
Nice.
You know,
Chiro?
and then, I mean, yeah, so if I again look at it, right, as Saji mentioned, again, it depends on the industry and then the particular entity, how they are doing, right? The organization, that's one thing. And also, I would say the program size. Again, I mean, I strongly feel there is no one size, fits all the situation here. Again,
Yeah.
it depends on the industry, how the market is doing, and then, where we are sending, that's one thing. And also, Saji mentioned one thing that, when we are sending people to some of the locations, maybe at that point of time we don't want to look at the cost, because you want
Yeah.
to place employee security as a major priority, right? So that is one thing. And then what I would say, again, the program size, if it's you have a vast program, maybe you can have a standardized policy, right, with stricter or clear, I would say, objectives. Then you
Yeah.
can maintain that standard, right? Or otherwise you need to employ so many people to manage all these moves in the
Yeah.
global mobility, which is not may not be possible. But then if
Yeah.
the program size is small, then you can have guidelines, and also you can give much more customized approach to the moves. So I think again it depends on the program size, and then I also would say the culture of the company, right?
Yeah.
How far you want to go, how much flexibility you want to go, or you want to just go by one particular standard.
Right.
That's what
Right.
I'm witnessing by talking to several experts from the industry.
Yeah, nice point. Yeah, great. Thank you. Coming to this favorite topic of ours, remote work, which has been a great topic for last few years. We all discuss on this a lot. While before we get into a larger discussion on that, I think just want to get a quick poll of our participants in terms of we want to understand in whether in your organizations the overall number of requests, are they increasing, decreasing, or they're almost flat? So can we have a kind of a poll? I would request all the participants to take a moment and just give your vote. It will also kind of validate what our understanding is at the same time. We'll wait for a minute for you to. In the meanwhile, let's talk about the policy at a policy level, remote work. So, are you seeing anything broad shift in the policy or the approach towards remote work as a philosophy over the last year or so? Chiru, you want to start?
Yeah, see, it's a I know it's a favorite topic because of the complexity, because of the flexibility it provides, right? I mean, I personally feel that I should have the flexibility,
Mm.
but then when I wear my global mobility, head of global mobility hat, I
Yeah.
would think that okay, it may not be possible in all the situations. So I mean, there is a conflict of interest within myself, right?
Yeah.
So that is there. And basically, I mean, if you look at the outside surveys, or some of these surveys done by or maybe articles published by the Big Four or any of the other companies which are in the business, right, in the global
Yeah.
mobility business, I mean, everybody says that at least 2/3 of the companies either implementing a policy or planning to implement a policy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when we look at the high level, it looks like okay, everybody is in for it. But then
Yeah.
when you and then if I have to say in the Indian context, there are so many asterisks, right? When they
Mm.
say remote work is allowed, but then there are so many asterisks. Then you need to read into all those. So I
Got it.
feel again it depends on the company. If you're heavily gone by the regulations like banking industry,
Yeah.
I don't know how much flexibility you can get.
Got
So
it.
I'll just stop there and see what
Yeah.
Saju has to say. I know it's a as you said, it's a interesting and um, yeah,
Yeah.
very demand topic.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I think it has been more prevalent from post-pandemic, right? Means it's not that people were not working remotely previously, but I think the number of cases just went up
Mm.
because there were people talking about work from anywhere without understanding what that actually meant. I mean, did
Yeah.
that mean that go over the international borders and work? I think that's where the problem started, right?
Yeah.
And even though, I mean, as a policy, we do have a framework, but it is not something which is, say, it's more compliance driven. Are we
Mm.
complying with the immigration regulations? Are we complying with the tax regulations and taking into account both these aspects? The requests that come through can be approved or not. So that's
Yeah.
the broader framework we have. Now, if
Mm.
we talk about numbers, I wouldn't say we have, I mean, there is fairly a good number of requests that come, but those are for people who are returning back to the home country. I think
Got it.
gone are the days, we do have exceptions, gone are the days where there were, say, the country combinations were very vague, or the
Mm.
reason for shift was very vague,
Yeah.
or I'll say there is a big drop in those situations, but we do
Yeah.
still have people who are wanting to come home for personal reasons, and along with that work remotely. So those,
Yeah.
I mean, we look at favorably. Anything else, it is not really favorable, purely because of ensuring that we remain compliant, not get into any exposure.
Yeah.
uh, but again, I think there are two spectrum to this. One, if I break it into, say, geographical areas, right?
Yeah.
And that's our observations. Means
Yeah.
majority of this is people who are, say, in the US. That's where I think most of the companies expat
Yeah.
population largely. So they are returning home and they want to be here. So you have a guardrail in terms of how many days they can be.
Yeah.
Maybe from the Europe, and then by the design of or the nature of work that the company
Yeah.
does, we have a large pool of expats in the APAC region.
Got it.
And these are individuals who are hired from the nearby country. So it's
Got
easier
it.
for them to hop onto a flight,
Yeah.
go to the nearby country, spend some time, and come
Yeah.
back. So what we also experience is there is a repeat request from
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
individuals. It's not one time in a year, but there is a repeat request, people wanting to
Yeah.
be there at home for more time. But again, within those framework that we have set, if it is okay, we approve. And then I think that primarily how it all works out.
Got it.
Yeah, from a policy perspective, not change, no, in the philosophy, but we are still continuing to manage how
Got
it
it.
was previously as well.
It's a very unique observation in this poll that we have an increasing trend for almost 33% of the participants, which is a good thing to know. I mean, of course, remote work also is also based on the definition, whether you call it domestic remote work or international remote work. I think that also has its own level of challenges here. Meanwhile, participants, you can always put in your questions in the Q&A box, and we will try to address them as we go along. So great, thank you. So coming to the GCC story, I mean, especially you both of you are in a location called Hyderabad, and Hyderabad is always in the news every second week about some global brand setting up a new GCC in Hyderabad, and maybe Pune also is another location which is becoming very hot in now setting up the global capability centers. So in these kind of scenarios where you see that yes, there are huge GCCs being set up, we know the initial journey of a GCC obviously is to have leadership, senior leadership, or coming into India and setting up this GCC, setting up those processes, setting up those, and it is next spend 2 to 3 years, and then maybe then the local leadership kind of takes over a period of time. Now, in terms of roles which happen in GCC, obviously both of you are now global heads sitting out of India, so there's obviously a huge potential for many roles to move to India as well in the GCC space as well. How do you treat when you get the request of senior leadership moving into India, or you have expats moving into India? What is your approach in terms of managing that vis-a-vis with the businesses? Chiru, you want to go with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just on whatever you said on the growth of the GCCs, right? Just I want to spend maybe 30 seconds first. I was reading the report by EY, and then basically it says the market is expected to grow by 100 billion. This is US dollars by 2030. And
Mm.
also the number of GCCs, I think currently we have around 1700 in India. That is going to grow up to I think close to 2600. So that means in the next couple of years, that means we are going to see a 50% growth in the GCCs, right? So that attracts definitely the international. I would say maybe the Indian nationals who are settled or Indian OCI card members, right, who are citizens in the US or other countries, but then have origins. Um, sometimes they want to come, and sometimes management encourages them to go back so that they know the culture, they know the rules of the land. So
Yeah.
that would help. That's kind of win-win situation. So
Yeah.
the main thing I would say, I just get into the main important point, right? One is, again, you need to set the expectations in terms of the salary benefits, what they're going to get,
Yeah.
because sometimes you tend to just convert your USD amounts into INR, and people may assume that they are going to get it. That's
Yeah.
one thing, because the market standard is different,
Yeah.
right? So that is one big thing, and also how we are going to create value for them, for the employees to grow in their career, and also thus creating the value for the GCC as well.
Got it.
So that is very important point from my point of view.
Got it. Okay. Saju?
So I mean, of course, we don't have a lot of international movements into India, but I was part of a discussion a year back where one of the one of our customers were looking at setting up
Yeah.
operations in India as a GCC. And it was pretty interesting to note that they had already identified a pool of resources, leaders who are going to move from different geographies, not just one location, but
Yeah.
different geographies. They were very clear in terms of their thinking, in terms of the strategy that these people will come to India on the India benefits, move to India payroll. So no expat compensation,
Exactly.
no specific additional benefits, but you are in India, we will support you with everything else in terms of settling down, be it a house search, be it a school, school search, and getting into a lease, which was company. So ensuring that they settle down seamlessly is very critical when you are bringing leaders into India. I think that really is important, looking at the fact that GCCs are really driving high value work,
Yeah.
advanced technology, and you need really skilled individuals to come and manage those.
Correct.
Now, I think the other part of the GCC is also that India being a talent hub, at some point of time, the talent will move to leadership levels, or they have to go for upskilling or training, and that becomes another layer of travel, like similar to how we have currently from the, say,
Yeah.
global development centers.
Yeah.
So from a mobility team, it may start with people moving into India and then eventually scale up to having talent move out of India and managing that piece.
Yeah.
So my view is with what Chiranjeev just mentioned, right? It means if GCCs are really going to grow to the size of 100 billion in terms of revenue. The other part is, I think, there are companies who are also creating practices for GCC. They don't see
Yeah.
them as competitors, but as a client, which means there will
Correct.
be more scope for growth, and mobility will play a very critical role in managing that growth. So I
Got
think
it.
as we move into future forward, there will be more mobility opening. That's what I'm thinking. There will be more opportunities for people in mobility to get
Definitely.
part of GCCs. Yeah.
Got it. Uh, Coming on that volume trend overall in the move, I mean, this is a very broad level. What's your insight into the kind of assignments which are nowadays you see in your day-to-day roles? Chiv?
So maybe I can go. Yeah. I mean, see, if I look at it, right, I mean, from my conversations with whether it's relocation vendors or some of the partners from the Big Four, right? I mean, if until unless you're moving people somewhere to generate the revenue, like maybe an engineering project or maybe a construction project, right? Maybe there you're seeing short-term assignments, or otherwise, most of what I am finding is most of those are one-way moves, permanent transfers. But I'm not seeing kind of the pre-pandemic level of moves, either short-term or long-term assignment.
Got
And
it.
also there is a shift in the thinking that, okay, can we get it done without really sending a person on a long-term
Right.
assignment,
Right.
right? So
Correct. Yeah. Saju?
that's
Yeah,
what
sure.
I'm witnessing.
Got it.
Yeah, no, I agree with Chiru. So the volumes are, I'll say, kind of to the level of pre-pandemic, not to the exact level, but it is purely driven by two factors. Means it's still challenging to secure a visa in a timely manner. Means if you
Yeah.
look at US, it's still pretty backlogged.
Mm.
It is long-term assignments that we are seeing. Short-term is very sporadic.
Mm.
Again, based on growth.
Yeah.
Are we moving into a region where there needs to be people to go there and set it up? So those may be short term, but otherwise it's all project driven, where people go against specific projects, long term move. So no change in the, I think, experience that way in terms of what kind of assignments are we experiencing.
Okay. We have a very interesting question here in the
Yeah,
sense that while we are, focus a lot on outbound moves of India as well, and then there's a perception that the level of support we give to outbound moves is much lower than what we give to the inbound moves. Is there something which you, as in your global roles as global leadership of mobility, try to kind of enhance and kind of take it as a business case to the leadership in terms of what more support we need now for outbound, given the current situation, the way things are emerging?
Yeah, I can go first, right? I'll tell
Yeah,
you, I completely agree with Harveer, right, on this, because I had a personal experience. I moved to US for a couple of years on an assignment
yeah,
with my previous company, right?
yeah,
So basically, you were given, airfare. Maybe you were given one-time allowance, but then no housing, nothing, right? That's because I went from India to the US, right?
yeah,
Um, and then I see that trend still continues with the company, one
mm,
company. I mean,
mm,
most of the companies, right?
mm,
And then another thing is, but it also depends on there are two things. It also depends on the culture. But then right
yeah,
now, I'm seeing whenever I move a person, I don't care from which country to which country, whether we are applying the policy or whether we are providing the benefits equally or not.
yeah,
Right. That again, that should come from the company and management and culture.
yeah,
But there is another side of it. Now, if I see there is any position somewhere else, there are five people, they put up their hand and they say, we don't need anything. You just send us. Right.
mm,
So there is also a lot of competition, among employees to go from here to somewhere else. Then
yeah,
at that time, business will think, okay, do I have to give all this? Or
yeah.
maybe I just provide the immigration support. So
Got
that's
it.
also there. There are two sides of two
Correct.
aspects of the, issue.
Got it. Anything you add, Saju?
No, I'll just say that, see, there are countries where it is tried and tested, right? It means
Yeah,
employees have been traveling for several years, so there is already a support mechanism which is set up. There are
yeah,
peers or colleagues or supervisors. So
mm,
I think that plays a big role in terms of deciding whether additional
yeah,
support when somebody is moving is required or not.
right.
And then there are newer geos where there is no ground support, there is very little presence. I think
Yeah,
those are focused when it comes
yeah,
to companies to ensure that it is easier for employees to adapt from a cultural perspective,
yeah,
facilitate whatever is required, maybe provide a housing or a school search. So I think that's basically a mix and match of how possibly decisions are made. But I think in terms of policy, I go with what Chiru said,
mm,
that it is not very different, is my thinking as well.
got it. Thanks. Okay. Let me just give a quick update on the India regulatory environment. Looking at first for the income tax compliances, I think we are seeing a lot more dedication by the income tax department in terms of data collection through their other sources, the big data, the way they're using the big data, the way now they are going to come up with new tax return formats, which will have more and more requests for information in the tax returns itself. So the trend and the current trend is to actually ensure that you are very accurate in your reporting. You are very accurate in disclosing whatever you have to disclose, especially for expats who are in India, who become a resident, ordinarily resident in India after staying a few years, where they see their global income is being taxed and global assets have to be reported. It is very important that it has been transparently disclosed here. India it's very active in terms of obtaining information from various countries through the exchange of information clause under the double tax avoidance agreement. So definitely it's important that people understand. One another point I would like to state also is that a lot of Indian nationals, I mean, thanks to the Reserve Bank of India's liberalized scheme, they can go invest in overseas assets, overseas stocks and other things. So it's important that those informations are accurately disclosed as well, especially if you're somebody who's what we say taxed on a global basis in India. So my request to all of them is to just make sure that the information capturing is very accurate and disclosure is very accurate in your income tax returns. Because otherwise, any minor amendment or minor gaps, you will be immediately the system will issue a notice to you. So that's that's the current environment in India. In terms of provident fund, EPFO has done a lot of streamlining of processes internally in terms of, let's say, around exchange of transfer of funds, online transfer due to change of employment, and then there are other bottlenecks which was requiring, let's say, Aadhaar verification and all of that. Some of them have been kind of put aside to make sure that it's more very seamless for the employee. For the foreign nationals who are posted in India, always is this question around withdrawal of PF after the assignment is over. right? Because ultimately it's a cost to the employee or through the organization. Now, India has signed what we call the social security agreements or totalization agreements with 20 plus countries. So if you're coming from a home country, which is one of these countries, home country, when I mean to say that where you are contributing to the social security in that country, which has an agreement with India on the social security benefits, then after your assignment is over, you are able to withdraw the money. For people who are coming from a home country which does not have a socialization agreement, totalization agreement, or social security agreement with India, then you have to wait till the age of 58. And then, of course, that comes with its own challenges of having a bank account in India
Exactly.
active, and all of those procedural challenges do exist for those. So we hope that more and more countries have conclude their SSAs with India. I think the next one we will see is UK. I think that's the one which we expect them to really get that in place as well, besides the other 20 countries which we have. On the immigration front, obviously you see a lot more announcements from local consulates for various countries who are based in India in terms of change in the procedure policies or the wait times or the processing time. So that obviously is something you keep on tracking on a regular basis. The teams keep tracking so that we are able to give a clear picture to the business in terms of the expected timelines around getting those appointments. Anything on the appointments you want to add, Saju and Chiru?
So the experience, at least with the US, I would say hasn't improved drastically. I mean, they did a lot of work to improvise the appointment for work visas, but the business visas are still heavily backlogged. The other observation also is the Schengen countries, and there was a report that Indians did face a lot of rejections and running into thousands of crores. So there also what we see is there is a big backlog when it comes to visa processing. If it was taking a week, that has actually gone up to 4 weeks, 6 weeks in some of the regions. So starting early is very critical. Giving a good gap in terms of your own travel and when you're making an application is very critical. I think those are two big factors if visas have to be processed for anybody in the organization.
Yeah.
The only one thing I just want to add is that I'm not sure, in India, but then recently, just 2 days back, trying to get visa stamped for, no, take an appointment for visa stamping for one of the executives, right? What I was told that, they changed the systems, especially to take the appointments, and then there are so many technical glitches. Individuals have to raise the tickets to get those results. So now what we did, we moved that appointment from Paris to one of the Asian countries to get it stamped. So that's what I was told, that there is a lot of change in the systems, and then I think there may be a new vendor, whoever is operating those appointments, right? You need to pay and fix an appointment. It's a different website than where you complete your DS-160. So that's what came to my attention.
That's very interesting. It makes I think everybody loves to make it more complex, and therefore we are, as mobility professionals, so we love complexity even more. So that's
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
great. Okay, coming to the last part of our conversation, which we want to discuss today, is about adoption of information technology, right? I mean, we have gone through a journey of enhancing our technology adoption over a period of time. Initially, it was more about just integrating with the systems, with the larger HR systems, or creating your own workflows to make sure that there's a proper approvals and necessary authorization can go to our vendors. Starting from there, we then managing our data more seamlessly, having accurate data, trying to do predictive analytics on data, and we use that information for various aspects of our work, whether it's social immigration, whether it's tax, whether it's just pure HR compliances. We've now moved to a phase where everybody wants to just talk about how good they are in using AI for global mobility, right? Now, my personal view, obviously, AI is just to augment the support which we get to and do our roles, and not necessarily start advising employees and leadership on our behalf. Right. I mean, because global mobility is an extremely personal area of work, and it's way too complex to leave it to an agentic AI or any tool to have an interface with the employee or the business. I mean, there is obviously some standard information can go, whether it's a chatbot and all, but I think mobility is a very personalized experience. And AI is not something which will help you to address personalized experiences. Now, before we get into the conversation, I want to definitely take a quick poll here in terms of asking our participants in terms of what is the percentage of work today you are doing where you are using AI. Right, it's a very at a broad level. Like, what's your sense? How much, like, based on what you used to work earlier, how much now work like Copilot and all is now part of your work, whether it's your research, whether it's sending out some standard templates or policy templates or whatever you may be using. So take a moment and then just give your vote. It'll be very interesting to see that while the participants vote. So coming to use of technology and mobility in today's space. I mean, mobility leaders are actually in a tough space right now because on one hand there is expectation from the employee to make it more seamless using technology. There's a expectation from the leadership using AI in your day-to-day jobs. But the reality of the other part of the reality is managing those expectations and day-to-day changes in the outside world, right? I mean that, as I said, mobility is a very personalized experience. So how do you bring a balance between these two? Because, and given the fact that there are always cost budget constraints of implementing those new technology tools, which everybody kind of showcases to us.
Yeah,
Chiru?
I can
Yeah.
go first. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean the balancing. I would agree. I would 100% agree that HR and then especially global mobility. We deal with people, so having that empathy and having that understanding is very important, and we cannot really give some of the tasks to any of the agents, however intelligent they are, right?
Yeah.
Artificially though.
Yeah.
So I think one thing we need to understand, how do we add value, right?
Yeah.
If we realize that, I think then you can make a clear distinction that what you can maybe get done by AI and what you can handle yourself, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I mean one example, I mean you can maybe get the assignment letter done by maybe Copilot or any of the Gen AI systems, right? But then
Mm.
when you explain the assignment letter to the employee, that you should do, right? That a
Mm.
human should do, right? Getting it done, preparation can be done by the AI agents, but then
Yeah.
the talking part should be, you know, by a human being. So
Right.
I think we need to make the distinction where we can add value as a person, as an employee to the to
Right.
your colleagues.
Right. I think it is interesting to see that there's zero for zero. So that means people have started using some level of AI, whether it's Copilot or whether
Exactly.
in their
Yeah.
day-to-day work. So which is it's a great thing here. And obviously there are a few who are saying more than 10%. So which I mean there is a decent level of adoption of using AI in their day-to-day work. Which is a healthy sign. And hopefully that is helping us to get away from the administrative and the mundane work and focusing that bandwidth and the energy to provide high touch and high end services to our business stakeholders and employee assignment population, I guess. So that's a great thing. Yeah, Saju.
Yeah. No, so I agree with what Chiru said, right? I mean, there are things in mobility which is very complex. I mean,
Yeah,
that does require an interface with a human, and that requires a one-on-one conversation if it is necessary.
yeah,
I think the other part is looking at what is happening in the AI space. Everybody means that the organizations are driving towards it. They want to carve out a niche for
yeah,
themselves, and as part of that, they are themselves pushing internally
yeah,
to adopt usage of AI in the functions, in the support functions, wherever it can.
yeah,
So with that push, what is also happening is even if you don't want to invest, there is a need to go ahead and adopt and start using AI. So
yeah,
one of the things we saw within the company is open up the Gen AI playground within
mm,
a certain framework, and the employees can use it. Means it was
yeah,
primarily being used for research, maybe getting stuff polished in terms of answers or responses. As you
mm,
said, the adoption of chatbot, that's something which is also happening. But I think it's a mix and match, right? AI again is changing, which means if you are making large investments, we don't know how things will be
Exactly.
we will move forward, and then the entire framework may have to be redone. So there
yeah,
are tools which give you an end-to-end workflow. There are, say, standalone tools, or you could maybe do a standalone, say, tool internally. So it's a mix and match. You can look at maybe once AI is more developed, it is more seamless. the human interface is also to a large extent maybe in a better manner in terms of the large language models or how the output is coming. I think that will be the phase where the adoptions can be more than what it is today. But I think otherwise it's largely to do away with the regular work, what may be deemed as an NVA, make it more approachable or polished in terms of how we want to say draft the letters, issue documentation, or for that matter, even create orientation calls out of it, right? It means how you want to structure that. I mean, those really are, I think, areas where AI adoption works. But I think at the end of the day, everything still needs to be reviewed by global
Yeah.
mobility so that the
Yeah.
trust factor in the output continues.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I think trusting is really, I mean, that what the output and how can we trust the output
Exactly.
is the main focus right now in terms of using the AI. I
Yeah.
think thank you.
Yeah.
I think this was great points. Let me just talk about a couple of more things which I wanted to announce. First is that we are having our first conference in Singapore on the 25th September. So for colleagues who are in Singapore and who are going to be in Singapore, please do join us for that one day conference. There's a great collaboration with RES Forum to have great insights in terms of where are we moving as a function, a global mobility function. This participation is obviously free for ATMA members and corporate global mobility professionals. We've recently announced, launched Atmosphere. It's a secure space for global mobility professionals to come together connect with each other, share your concerns, share your challenges, and for all of us to kind of help each other in terms of providing solutions. It's like an online platform to kind of chat with each other and share knowledge. So I would urge all of you to kind of, go to our website and, who are members, obviously they already have the access to the Atmosphere, but who are not, do join for a 30 days free trial to see this Atmosphere and see how you feel about it. It's a space which is more secure in terms of sharing all your challenges, and obviously all of us are there to kind of help and support and share all the information which we can to address your challenge.
I would say, I mean, it's a great place to virtually brainstorm or get,
Yes.
your questions answered.
Yes.
So I would definitely say go and try it, at least since the 30-day free membership period is available. So
Yeah.
I would suggest everybody go and explore at least to understand what it is.
Thank you for that. And at last, obviously, would love to, if you, for who are not the members, love to be a member of ARP and support us in terms of trying to do what we are trying to, again, do it in Asia. We want to kind of, as I said earlier, that we want to have the community step up in terms of step up in terms of their roles, responsibilities, and what impact they can create for their business. So as I mentioned, we are all very senior professionals in ATMA who are focused in helping and enhancing the mobility industry in Asia. I want to take this time to obviously thank Chiru and Saju for their commitment and their time today. I think you give a lot of good insights and some great points. And we want to ensure that we continue this conversation in terms of where the mobility industry is going and how we can support each other. So a huge thanks to Chiru and
there is
Saju.
a question. I don't know. You guys want to answer that quickly? Maybe Saju.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Sure. I mean, there's one on visa application.
Yeah, right. I'll take that up. So my thought is to keep that as an exception purely based on two factors. One means there is an incremental cost associated moving an employee to a third country and applying. The wait times, as we understand it, slightly longer, means we still need 3 to 5 months to secure a visa, fly to the country, make an application. And with every US visa, the risk of a rejection still remains. Although we haven't done ourselves, but I have seen people flying to countries like Thailand, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, and even somebody getting a visa done from Mauritius. So it is certainly possible, but keeping that as an exception will be a better thing to do.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you for taking up that question and giving that answer. I think it's very interesting. So again, thank you all. It was a great conversation. Chiru and Saju, as always, you've been fantastic in terms of sharing your insights and to help our participants as well get more insights into the challenges they are facing as well. So thank you all.
Yeah. Thanks,
thank
everybody.
You, and thank you all
if you
for
have any
participating
questions,
today.
please feel free to reach out and ask your questions.
Yeah. Absolutely. We are always there
Ramesh.
around to support.
Right.
Yeah, please reach out to me at any time.
Yeah.
Thank
Right.
you. Thanks,
Take
Ajay.
care,
Thanks,
everybody.
Shivam.
Have a great
Thank
day
you.
and good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.